Hey everyone, Ivy Gaming here, and today we're playing Raid Shadow Legends, and we are here to talk Hydra heads. This is the second video of this series. I already had a video out about the Head of Blight, so if you missed that, go ahead and take a look if you want to see the best champions and the best strategies for defeating the Head of Blight in particular. Obviously, when it comes down to Hydra, everything is about team synergy. It's also about making sure that you have the champions to counteract what they're going to do. And you can hopefully fulfill those with a champion that can, well, fulfill multiple roles. That's kind of the goal, right? So today we're talking the Head of Torment. The Head of Torment is a tough one. It's a very champion-specific head. But let me quick read through the skills. Spectral Draws attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a fear debuff for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. Resistance, block debuffs, don't matter. After the first attack, attacks all enemies under fear or true fear debuffs. Decapitation effect. When this head is decapitated, removes all fear and fear debuffs from all enemy champions and then places Perfect Val on the champion for 2 turns. So when he's decapitated, he actually takes off his butt debuffs that he put on you. So that's nice of him, I guess. Kidding, not kidding. But Perfect Veil, this is actually something that's going to come in handy, which we will talk about. Curse Storm attacks all enemies. Damage increases by 25% for each debuff an enemy is under. The more debuffs you're under, the more you have to worry about how hard he's going to smack. So this is something to consider in the current rotation that when recording this, that we are if you're with the Head of Blight, they throw poisons, he throws leech. Definitely don't want to be under too many debuffs or it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a harder attack. Now, let's talk the passive. This is where it gets tricky. When attacked by enemies not under Perfect Veil debuffs, places a True Fear debuff on them for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. Decreases the damage taken from poison debuffs by 90%. So you can place poison, it just doesn't do that much damage, but we'll talk about that in a second. All right, decreases the damage all heads take from AoE attacks by 10%. Like most of the Hydra, general AoEs just don't do that much damage. Damage, and same thing like the others with max HP as well. So damage from skills that scale based on enemy max HP cannot exceed 10% of the head's max HP when attacking this head. Damage taken in 1 tick from HP burn cannot exceed 20,000 HP. Damage taken from Reflect Damage, War Master Mastery, and Giant Slay Masteries cannot exceed 50,000 HP per attack. So this, I'm looking at the hard one right now. Some of the descriptions for some of these are different depending on which head we're looking at, but right now we are looking at hard. It pretty much is just, yeah, it doesn't really matter for this anyway, because this is the same. But yeah, anyway, immune to stun, freeze, sleep, provoke, block active skills, block passive skills, fear, and petrification. Debuffs, also immune to HP exchange effects, HP balancing effects, cooldown increasing effects, max HP reduction effects, and turn meter reduction effects. So, simple as that. Can't do any of that stuff, right? But you can poison it. Now, this is where we have a very specific champion to talk about comes in, right? Inquisitor Shamel. So there are 2 ways to defeat the Head of Torment, right? 2 ways. But before I get to those ways, I do want to quickly mention a shout here with Hell Hades website here. It's all, got the optimizer. It's amazing. But besides that, there's so many amazing other tools on this website that I love so much. So Hydra, Rotation 2, Brutal, or let's just look at Hard. Head of Torment. You want to see the stats? You want to see how fast all the heads are? You want to see what resistances you need to counteract their accuracy? You want to see how much accuracy you need to counteract their resistance? This is a wonderful spot to look up for stats like that. Also, his optimizer does have a team suggestion tool, guys. I have to shout that out. It's so freaking good. It helped me early on in Hydra when I was just confused and frustrated and didn't know what to do. But that's why we're doing this video series. I want to explain each Hydra head and ways to counteract them. So let's get back to this here. All right. So the first way, obviously, Head of Torment, you guys have probably heard this conversation before. Inquisitor Shamel. So let's actually go say hi to Inquisitor Shamel and see why he's so good for Hydra, Head of Torment. So Inquisitor Shamel has this amazing passive, guys. Each critical hit fills his turn meter by 70, blah, blah, blah. Whenever an ally receives a fear or true fear debuff from an enemy, the skill will instantly remove the debuff and fill the ally's turn meter by 15%. Oh, and then he counterattacks. You know, no big deal. No big deal. When they get it, he also counterattacks. It's so crazy. Every time an ally places a debuff on an anytime an enemy places a debuff on an ally, uses this skill against that enemy. These counterattacks will only deal 50% of the normal damage and cannot be critical. So this is where Inquisitor Shamel shines. They're going to get feared and true feared, right? They're going to try to be. And this can from the Head of Torment. But Inquisitor Shamel is going to say nope. And then he's going to hit them. So they're going to try to debuff your allies, and then he's going to smack them. So every single time he smacks them, well, we have some things for that, right? We have Giant Slayer Mastery, which is great to use when you're not pairing him with block debuffs champion. You don't want to make sure, like, you don't want to pair him with Duchess or someone that, like, it's like I try not to have my block debuffs go up too much with Sify on the team because she's actually kind of counteracting what Inquisitor Shamel does, honestly. So actually, I think I messed that up a little bit in my video. I used it a little too often. I didn't mean to. It just was a habit. But you don't want to have block debuffs up with Inquisitor Shamel because you want them to get feared. Oh, wait. He won't let that happen, right? He won't let that happen. So the A1 here is going to just counterattack, and that's also going to help proc War Master or Giant Slayer Masteries. Then there's also the general counterattack masteries, of course, as well. That is really helpful here, too. Whenever they counterattack when they place fear or true fear, that's this Retribution Mastery, or not Retribution. This is Retribution. Deterrence Mastery is so good for this rotation. It's a must. It's so good. So he is key for beating the Head of Torment. He's the #1 damage dealer for that. And honestly, it's not even about his damage, his pure damage. You can rely on War Master procs. So if you're building him in a team that's a little bit squishy and you don't have crazy support to put alongside him to keep him alive, you can build him with a little bit more sustain. Like I actually have an HP ring on him with defense and HP % extra just to help give him a little bit survivability and not worry too much about his actual just sheer damage, because, well, you could also do this other strategy, like I said, toxic set. You can put him in a toxic set. He'll place tons of poisons, and yes, the poisons do less damage because of that damage mitigation for poisons that most of the heads have, but it's still damage. It still adds up, and it can add up a big it can add up so much. It's so crazy because of how often he's actually hitting. So he's really great. Now the other champions that I want to talk about here that are good for this head are, well, if you're not as lucky like me and have 2, actually 3 now, Inquisitor Shamels, yay. You can use Veil champions. There are a bunch of champions that use Veil, so I'm going to pull that up first. Actually, we're here on Hell Hades' website. I'm just going to do this the easy way. Let me just go in. Let's just click a faction. We just need to see the buffs and debuffs bar. Again, this is such a good tool, guys. I'm obsessed. All right. So we're talking about a debuff, or no, a buff. We're talking about Veil. We want to put Veil or Perfect Veil on a champion. Here we go. Let's go. Veil and Perfect Veil champions. We want to talk AoE, not a single target. That's boring. We want to talk not on themselves. That's boring too. So, oh, that one's random. Okay, so the one's at the top. There we go. Here we go. Whole team Val. Whole team Val. So these are the best people for this job. We have Duchess Lilitu. Obviously Duchess. We all know Duchess. She's wonderful for this rotation. If you don't have a Shamel, you can make sure that you have the Veil buff up, so that way you can attack the Head of Torment without getting feared. So if you don't have Inquisitor Shamel in your team, you're gonna get feared, even if you have block debuffs. unless you have perfect Val on your champion. She does an AoE. The only thing to remember is Duchess does not put a Val on herself. She does not put a Val on herself, so that is something to consider because you don't want to attack the Head of Torment with Duchess. You're just going to fear her. So then we also have Tatura. He was a lovely, lovely fusion. So hopefully you guys are lucky enough and you have this wonderful Val champion as well. We also have Rector Drath. She's an epic, wonderful champion. She puts a Val on everybody, including herself. So that's actually really good for Hydra. That doesn't hurt. She's really good for this rotation of Hydra if you guys need that and you don't have Inquisitor Shamel. But that's all for now today. I hope you guys appreciated this video talking about the Head of Torment. We'll move on to the other heads a bit later. But I'll see you in the next video. And if you missed my video on the Head of Blight or the other heads, go take a look. When this video is released, this will be my second one of the series, but I'll have more coming, so stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video.